Attention, please. Eastern Airlines Flight 19, now ready for departure.
Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're entering the vacation kingdom of the world.
There's enough land here to hold all the ideas and plans we could possibly imagine. We call it Epcot. Will be our experimental prototype city of tomorrow.
Welcome to another episode of the Retro Disney World podcast, taking you back to the vacation kingdom of the world, the way it was, and the way it is in your memories.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Retro Disney World podcast, the official podcast of the Lake Buena Vista Historical Society. This is episode 102, We the People, the Bicentennial at Walt Disney World. We'll be taking you back to that year, almost 50 years ago, when the Bicentennial crossed the United States as well as through Florida and Walt Disney World, honored America in a variety of ways. So I'm sure we all have our own stories to talk about that. I'm your host, Todd McCartney, and sitting with me as always for this recording, Hal Bowers, coming in from his 90% repaired home, living under the normal roof, sleeping in his own mattress again. How's it feel, Hal?
Aloha. It feels pretty good. We have part of the kitchen now. We have the cabinetry. Tomorrow the plumber comes to hook up the sink. Then the dishwasher can be delivered and the rain should. So we're getting there. We're making progress.
There we go. And I'd say hello to JT. He can't join us here for the opening, but I'm sure he's going to make an appearance a little later on through the creative magic of podcast editing. He will be here shortly. So with that said, Brian from Philadelphia at the center of some of this bicentennial and honoring America for 200 and now 250 years. So I know this is on your list of things to do. And you know, Brian, I was laying in bed the other night thinking about this. We normally do Christmas in July, but this is bicentennial in January or February.
Well, greetings, salutations from the city of brotherly love, which was not only the home of American independence and not only the epicenter of the bicentennial celebration, but this year it is the epicenter of America 250, the semi-quincentennial celebration. And I told everybody on New Year's on social media that my whole identity for 2026 is going to be America 250. It's a great year to come and visit me in Philadelphia. And see all the stuff that they have planned. I'm sure July 4th will be a madhouse down there. But they've already started it in Philadelphia. We are putting up decorated bells that have different artwork on them. You know how they did like the cow thing in Chicago?
Oh, yes. Okay, so
they have the Philadelphia ones are all over this, are going to be put all over the city representing different neighborhoods in Philadelphia. There's a whole Pennsylvania thing where they're doing something in every county, and then there's stuff being done in every state. I know there's a website, America250, I think it is .org or whatever. Yeah. But just Google it. There is stuff happening all over, which is how we ended up doing this episode tonight. I said I wanted to do the bicentennial so that we could talk about the semi-quincentennial that's happening this year.
And just for those of you who are going to join Brian in Philadelphia during this celebration, he has agreed, if he takes you around, he's told me he agrees to wear a red, white, and blue Walt Disney World bucket hat through the duration of your tour. That way you can't miss him and his 6+ foot stature. So
we'll have to get one custom made.
Fit your head, right?
I only ever remember seeing them on little kids.
It fits me, but I'm not a very big guy, so you know.
Now, Brian, do you use a device to like lead your tour groups, like a riding crop or a flag?
What could he use?
Usually just put my hand in the air because I'm tall enough that people can see me. But yeah, I'll have to get a probably like a red, white, and blue. There's those flashlights that you could like
Oh yeah,
extend by flipping
flipping it
forward,
out. Yeah, that
like a
would be
fake
good.
lightsaber, that like a red, white, and blue like lightsaber type thing. That would be pretty cool.
You can be like Bob Gurr when he just took that from the woman and like forced his way through the crowds back at Epcot
A-
35.
Actually, it is one of the many, many regulatory wonders of living in Philadelphia. You have to be licensed to give tours in Philadelphia. That you cannot go out there and look like you're running any kind of organization or anybody giving you any money to lead a tour in Philadelphia without being licensed.
Interesting. Interesting.
So there's a guy that does videos called the Philly Captain. So for those of you who were followers of Adam the Woo or Tampa Jay or any of those folks who go around to different places and show off stuff in different cities and tourist attractions, the Philly Captain runs around Philadelphia region, showing off stuff here, and he frequently people are in his live streams like, "Hey, can you give me a tour?" If he's like, "Nah, not allowed to." He's like, "Can't do it."
All right, well, it's time for the mailbag, and JT has arrived just in time. JT, you look a little weathered. I know you had to take care of the family tonight, put the kids. You look tired. Everybody's tired tonight.
Yeah, I've been fighting a cold the last few days
Oh,
and
that's not good.
You didn't
snow
get it from me,
days.
even
I
though I
know.
was sick last week.
I
You didn't
know.
get
I
it
was
from
thinking
me.
that. I got it over the airwaves on Friday from you, or the digital waves. But I'm ready for the mailbag. I just, I'm going to soldier on. We're going to be okay. If everybody else is ready for the mailbag. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
I've
Let's
been
do it.
I've been born ready, man.
Okay. Well, we'll see because it's a good one. Well, first off, thanks to everybody who wrote. Got a lot of good stuff. Been catching up. I pulled this one from back in September. This is from Tom Skull. Tom, I'm just gonna say Tom's got a pretty cool name. Tom Skull. Like it's serious. Tom sounds like a serious kind of guy. But anyways, he says he was catching up on the podcast. He was listening to episode 79, Wonders of Life, part 27. No, that was actually just part 3 of Wonders of Life. And you're talking about time capsules, and we mentioned the buried car in Tulsa, which was from 2007, I believe. Tom actually used to work in television news and was working and living in Tulsa when the car was unearthed. He was covering it, and some footage you might have seen could have been the footage he shot. Anyway, it was a complete disaster. The car was ruined. He knows people from all over the world actually came to see it, and the buildup was a lot of fun, but the end result became a joke in town. It's too bad because it was a cool idea. He does believe that a few other cities have done something similar with better results. He does enjoy the podcast. He loves hearing about Disney World as it was when he was a kid. And he went to Disney World for the first time in 1992. So he did get to see and ride some of the attractions before they changed it too much. So, Tom, thank you for your message. We always love hearing the time capsule stories. Usually they end in disaster, but this was definitely one that made, I feel like, worldwide news when this one happened. So, thank you for the story, Tom. Next one here we have is from Rob. Just a quick one from Rob. This is he wrote us back in October. He says, "Hi guys, just a quick thank you for all the hard work and research that goes into making these podcasts. The details are amazing. He recently rediscovered our shows and enjoyed the one about banking at Walt Disney World, and he's looking forward to getting caught up on old episodes. Keep up the great work, Rob, who is from Vegas."
Rob, where you been? We're tanking here.
Yeah, well, so is Vegas allegedly too, right? That's
It's-
I keep hearing that, Rob. So tell us what's
yeah.
your boots on the ground. I'd love to hear your take on the Vegas problem, or if there is one. But thanks, Rob. We appreciate you listening. Next one, and I don't believe we've read this one. This one is from back in June. This is from Pat. Pat is writing us, and stop me if we've done this one, gentlemen, because I don't think we have. Pat's curious about the bathrooms at the Liberty Tree Tavern. His family, Pat's family, had a great meal there last year, but we were shocked at the bathrooms. Given the size of the restaurant, they seemed to be shockingly few bathrooms. I think the men's room only had one stall and one urinal. My wife had said there were similarly few stalls in the women's room. From searching online, he found a few people saying It's supposed to be period accurate to the colonial era. Some seem to be joking, while others seem to think it was actually true, as in the one urinal, one stall colonial era bathroom. A number of results were people asking if there was an accessible bathroom for those who rely on wheelchairs or can't go upstairs. At the time, the answer was a big no. I remember taking my daughter into the first floor bathroom after my wife had been taken our daughter into the upstairs room, so thankfully they added a wheelchair accessible bathroom. I didn't even know that. I've only gone to the upstairs one. Um, do you know the reason why the bathrooms were originally built like this? From listening to your podcast, I know Disney severely underestimated how many guests they would have and how many dining facilities and hotels would need for breakfast. Is this a similar issue? And do you know what's the reason the bathrooms haven't been expanded in 50 years? Looking at Google Maps, it looks like they, could have some space for that. So, and then finally, comparing this bathroom to others. So, do we got anything on this, gentlemen? Any? I will say, I do take great pride. I feel like George Costanza at Disney World. If you guys know how you tell
Knowing
George
where the good
Costanza,
bathrooms
yeah,
are.
Yeah.
anywhere in Manhattan where the good bathroom is. I
We're not
do.
going to give those secrets out. Eh? No,
Yes.
so yeah, the bathrooms down front were always so small, but I always found nobody was ever in them.
That's why I like them up top.
Yeah,
there,
I mean,
stairs.
they were always really quiet, and people like never knew that they were there. Like they'd go to Communicore, and they wouldn't think that there's these bathrooms off the side of Spaceship Earth there. I don't know. That's my favorite place for the
There's
bathrooms.
actually, Todd, the bathrooms out front before you get into
Oh,
Epcot,
those true,
Those
yeah.
are even better.
Yeah.
That's a great place to kill somebody. They might not find the body for days. But the answer is there were not a lot of, I mean, I don't want to say people didn't go to the bathroom back then like they do now, because I'm sure people went to the bathroom the same way. But if you will note, all of the construction that they've done when they did Splash Mountain, now Tiana's, uh, where the Frontierland train station originally was, they put a giant bathroom underneath there when you come out of Splash Mountain. I mean, it's a pit stop when you're coming off Splash Mountain. When they did Fantasyland and finally took down the Skyway station in Fantasyland, they replaced it with the tangled bathrooms. I mean, a massive bathroom expansion.
Yeah.
When they did New Fantasyland on the other side of Pinocchio's Village House, back by the Beast Castle, again, a giant bathroom complex back there to accommodate more people. So I think the answer is just that they the codes weren't the same back then in terms of crowd request. Well, let's also talk about the Magic Kingdom used to be what a busy day was 25,000 people, and now they let 90,000 in. So the demand could be met by what was there before, and now that you've let 3 times as many people into the park, you need 3 times as many bathrooms.
Yeah, I'll also say that there is a formula that's used to determine, capacity of bathrooms in restaurants. And that is a very small restaurant compared to, it's not like Tomorrowland Terrace where there's 500 people eating there. That probably has a I don't know. I'm gonna say that the capacity of that restaurant is probably just north of 100, maybe.
Yeah, I
I
would
mean,
say
it's
that's probably right.
it's not big. So if you go to a regular restaurant in your town that's not an Applebee's, you usually find a single stall men's room and a single stall ladies room, or sometimes just one bathroom
Even in
in a small
Applebee's will be
restaurant.
a two-header. Like you're not walking in and finding a bank. It's not the
Yeah.
Odyssey where there's 50 urinals. Like you know,
Yeah, and also, I mean, they just, ADA wasn't a thing, so it made sense for them to be able to put it upstairs, and it was there. But I haven't been into Cinderella's Royal Table, but I'm gonna guess that there's probably not a lot of bathrooms there either.
no. In fact, they're if I remember correctly, they're on a different floor. Like if you
Yeah,
have to go to the bathroom, my recollection is you got to go down like a flight of stairs to go to the bathroom.
which was another common thing in restaurants for a
Yeah.
long time.
Well, Chef
Yeah.
Mickey's is like that. They send you down a flight of stairs to get to the bathroom at Contemporary there.
It's been a while since I've been there, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
so
I will say, this is one of those bathrooms, and we'll go on a little tangent here. I love this one because it's unique. There's nothing worse though. What's the one at Hollywood Studios where it's either the sci-fi dine-in or one of those where you say, "Hey, where's the restroom?" And they point you to it, and you go, "Okay, I'm gonna find this cool
So
bathroom." And you go out a door, and it's like general population, general public restroom tied to another restaurant or something like that.
Oh yeah, I know what you're saying.
So,
Right,
so
right, right,
there
right.
there are multiples
Commissary.
there. The commissary and sci-fi dine-in share
Yeah, I
bathrooms.
hate that. I hate that.
The 50s prime time and Hollywood and Vine or Hollywood and Dine. I can never remember which is the name of the meal and which is the name of the restaurant, but they share a bathroom. In fact, one of my hashtag tips that I like to do when I'm taking people, if we eat at 50s prime time, I'm like, come on, let's go to the bathroom hallway and walk out through Hollywood and Vine just so you can see the characters on your way out. Because
It's
they're
a
just walking around and you're like, hey, how you doing, Mickey? We're just walking
yeah.
out the door. We
I
had a
like
great
it.
meal here.
I like the unique bathroom there. There's different ones. Like a lot of the like World Showcase ones, they all have their own. Like
Yeah,
you're only commiserating with restaurant guests. You're not
correct.
running into the public with it, which is just like it makes it feel kind of special. Now, another weird one is Hoop-de-Doo. You go outside the door, and
Yes,
they
they
send
send you
you to the
outside.
the public bathroom there. So it's but the Liberty Tree one is very cool. It's just kind
Well,
of its
that's the
own.
way that it used to be in the Diamond Horseshoe too. There weren't restrooms inside of that building, so you would have to go outside to the breezeway bathrooms and then come back in again
And get
if
some
you needed to go to the
sunglasses on
bathroom
your way
during the
And
by.
show.
maybe it's
Yeah.
tied into the fact that you just used to get a drink at home and then go about your day and not drink again. Like nobody walked around first with water
Bottled
bottles,
water.
started in the 90s. And then in the last 5 or 10 years, it's been these stupid Stanley cups and these like thermoses people walk around with. And the guys with the hats with the two cans and straws in them. Like this George Carlin did that routine, what, 20 years ago about everybody needing to suddenly be hydrated all the time and have water bottles with them. And we survived for like thousands of years, just like you get a drink and then you leave your house and that's it.
We're the most hydrated generation right now.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah. But the good thing about those bathrooms in Liberty Square is there is that myth that there's no bathrooms in Liberty Square because it somehow is tied into
Oh,
the thematic,
the thematic.
and like it's not true. It's like
No, there's an outhouse that hangs over the
Well,
rivers of America.
there's one by the Sleepy Hollow Treats too, isn't there? A
Yeah, there is
bathroom
one
back
over
there.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
in colonial times they always put the bathroom on the second story. That's
Yeah.
It's because gravity. They didn't have plumbing. They needed to bring it
Bathroom
down.
was the
yeah,
backyard back then.
yeah. Well, thanks, Pat. We appreciate that question. Hopefully that clears it up for you, and you guys can always think of us when you're in that bathroom in our deep dive at that Liberty Tree. But this is one I would say you can't go look at unless you're actually dining there. So don't get any sneaky ideas. I wouldn't go in there without a reservation.
And since we'll be talking about the bicentennial and the semi-quincentennial America 250 in a few minutes, if you come and visit Philadelphia and you go to Ben Franklin's former home, you can see the footprints. Some of the buildings are still there, but you can also see where his commode used to be, where his outhouse used to be.
All right. Last one here. Any trip to the bathroom is not complete with washing your hands. So Jack writes us about washing his hands in the bathroom. He says, "Hopefully my carrier pigeon reaches you as I write from Roy's cabin." It reached us, Jack. We trapped it and we've re-released it. I first found your show because I was feeling nostalgic for the original Epcot Center entrance music, and you delivered with an entire show on Epcot music. It was thanks to Hal Bowers here. I'm now going through the back catalog of shows, and he is currently at episode 53. One thing I learned from your show before my main question: the tram that ran where the boardwalk was absolutely blew my mind. I had been going every year since 1990. I do not remember a time when the boardwalk wasn't there or a tram running. Here's his main question, though. I remember as a kid, they had powdered soap in the bathroom, probably at the Liberty Tree Tavern bathroom. It always felt weird on my hands, and it seemed to create a huge mess everywhere. Can you provide me information as to why they did this, when it stopped, and if it was only at certain locations? Thank you for your insights. It's been a great show to listen to in the car as I take care of my 1 week old at home. I also sent a donation, so thank you, Jack.
And so, if you remember, if you were alive in the 1970s, powdered soap was everywhere.
Yeah.
Schools, like any industrial kind of situation.
I remember it a lot in garages too.
Right.
Well,
auto.
yeah, because that was lava soap.
Yeah, that was that
I
The
still
pumice.
have
dry
lava
pumice
soap.
lava
Yeah.
soap. Yeah, they had it in a bar and they also had it in the dry. Yeah.
But the ones at the Magic Kingdom were pink, and it was there was some speculation. It lasted until 2001. And the speculation that you'll see on the internet is that it went away due to postal anthrax scares. That to
Oh.
me sounds like baloney. I
It sounds
mean,
too perfectly related.
they bought it in, they bought this stuff in bulk. It was shipped to them in trucks. There's no, and it's pink. It's like I don't think there was any pink anthrax. So
No, the timing lines up though. Oh, one. That was when all
It
the
does
oh,
line up.
absolutely. And I think that's the reason that it propagates. But I found pictures on the internet of of the pink soap dispenser next to a liquid soap dispenser. And what I think is they just got a better deal on liquid soap once that became popular and switched from the one to the other. But if you want to get it for yourself, you can look it up today. The company that still makes it is called Chemcore, and it's Chemcore Borax hand soap. It used to be made by another manufacturer. They got bought out sometime in the 90s and still continued to make it. But that original supplier is no longer in business. But you can still get Chemcore Borax soap. So if you want that Disney pink hand soap experience in your own home, you can still do it.
I think
I want to
think
find one of
I-
those dispensers where you you gotta like put your hand up and down
Yeah.
underneath
you, like,
it, and
push
I-
the little plunger.
the little lever thing. Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I think we're on to some of the swag for our next retro magic. A little
Vial.
little individual packets of powdered soap for everybody. Branded powdered soap.
All right. Well, we're back after I unexpectedly crashed the computer, or it crashed
Technical
itself.
diffi- What did you do?
I was doing nothing. I was sitting here, I had some browser windows open.
You looked at it wrong. That's
Yeah,
that
exactly.
AI.
We got to wrap up powdered soap here.
We do. So I think we were talking about how you put your hands underneath the thing and you whack that little metal thing up. And JT, you were talking about how much extra you put on there. I can envision you like going in there with like a Ziploc bag or a sandwich bag and just filling it up to take it home, right?
Yeah, I was looking, and granted, this is from an era when not everybody had a phone in their pocket, so there's probably not many photos. But we were talking like some of these were like really recessed, like
Oh, yeah.
a hole in the wall, and then they had a little grate at the bottom to catch the dribbles.
Yep.
So if they got rid of this, they had to get the drywall man in there, the tile man, to fill in that hole.
I all I'm thinking of is Office Space. Like, does anybody ever tell you they have a case of the Mondays? No, man, I believe you get your ass kicked if you say, like. Can you imagine somebody taking out their camera in the bathroom in like
That's
2000?
right.
Like, I believe you'd get your ass kicked if you like took the camera out of
Yeah.
the bathroom and
Yeah.
started taking pictures.
And now people just sit down in the pot and
Ugh.
no,
All right,
no.
let's move on.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So, going full circle, I'm looking up for things about powdered soap, and you find now you can get your the soap in the shape of a Mickey head on your hand at different resorts. So
Yes.
we've advanced a lot in the soap area. But Jack, we appreciate you writing in about that. Good memory. If anybody out there recalls powdered soap, specifically powdered soap in the Liberty Tree Tavern restaurant, let us know. But for anything else, questions, comments, stories, write us podcast at retrowdw.com. We do try to get to all of them, read them at least, reply to as many as we can. And, we haven't had in a while, I'm just going to say it, a good celebrity story. It's been a few months since that. I love a good celebrity story. Maybe something fun happened to you at a resort. Just let us know. You never know what we might fancy putting on the air for our next episode.
When you say celebrity story, the one I always go to is that Michael Jackson one at the couple of the stepping on one, and then the room he stayed in right over at the village
or Michael Jason.
Michael Jason, Palace, he had his own suite. Yeah, it's funny because I always think of Tom Cruise destroying the store, playing football with his friends, and feeling like I clean it up. Yeah, throwing $1,000 in it.
He pulls the Godfather, throws him some cash, and walks away.
Yeah,
good. That's all I need.
Smashed his camera.
But yeah, we love a good story. We've been going so much. We always say this, like the stuff that sticks out is always the unique stuff that's not the norm, and we know that probably does for a lot of our listeners too. So, but we look forward to hearing from you.
All right, well, that wraps up the mailbag, and on to our main topic. All right, as we said at the beginning of the show, this is all about the bicentennial at Walt Disney World, which ran for, well, like every Disney thing, Brian's going to tell us, it ran for more than just 12 months, I'm sure. It did a lot of different things. Parades, fireworks, special floats, special buntings, you name it. It was all there. So I'm looking forward to this. Gentlemen, I remember some of the 1976 festivities inside, mainly through photos, but there's like one of me holding a little flag as I was 2 years old, actually barely 2 because my birthday's on the 10th. So I was not 2 yet officially.
I was just going to ask how old you were in 1976. And there you go. You went and said it.
It was 1 year, 359 days, or whatever. My math is wrong there.
But since Todd and I were born a few weeks apart, I was the same age.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. So, but anyway, yeah. So there was a lot of festivities going on. So this is really interesting because I know, gentlemen, back. If we go in the Wayback Machine here, June 18th, 2016, we released an episode called America on Parade, which was about the parade during the bicentennial celebration. I can't believe it's been 10 years, which is just crazy. Now we're getting on to 12 years, so that's what's even nuttier. And I think, Brian, you're going to go over some of those things tonight, but if you want a good listen back or a nice addition to this come July or after listening to this episode, check out episode 20, America on Parade, where we deep dive. I think how you led that one, if I recall correctly.
Yes, I did. Yes.
Yeah. And that's when you created the Happy Independence Day design for the t-shirt based on, do you remember?
The manufactory.
The manufacturer, yes. Build a flag at Walt Disney at Epcot. So
that little music thing I would play.
Yeah. So while the America on Parade was the chief driver and backdrop of Disney's bicentennial celebration, and will be in the background of everything we cover tonight, we will run through the parade floats tonight because we have to. We'll revisit those.
We're actually held by, I believe, by law and by contract. We have to go through them.
There is a giant thing of mustard, which
that's right.
Absolutely.
If you don't know what we're talking about, sit tight.
Yeah, sit tight. But we will also include a link in the show notes or in your favorite podcast app. Go back and look. We might even have to re-release that episode when we push this one out to the podcast feeds. We'll do like a way back Wednesday or something, and after we release this episode, maybe re-push out that America on Parade episode so people can hear us when we were much more younger but equally dashing when we did that episode. Because we did cover it in detail. But yes, Todd, you're right. You started off the show by saying, "Oh, it's February, but we're doing bicentennial in winter instead of Christmas in July."
Yeah.
The Disney started the bicentennial in 1975. The America on Parade actually premiered in 1975 and was supposed to run only through the following summer, 1976, and ended up running till 1977. But we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. But as you can imagine, any of these things take years to plan. And that's part of what is happening with the semi-quincentennial right now, America 250. And it was true of the bicentennial. And for your history buffs, I'll jump back real briefly. America's Centennial Exposition in 1876 in Philadelphia was one of the biggest draws of people from around the country and the world. There were displays from all over the world. It was like a World's Fair. The railroads built special lines right into the fairgrounds. This is 1876, 10 years after the Civil War ended. It was a huge success. Philadelphia put Philadelphia like back on the map. We were like raring and ready to go. It was so successful that in 1926 they wanted to do the sesquicentennial, the 150th anniversary. They wanted to recreate the magic, and it was a spectacular failure. It lost millions upon millions of dollars in 1926 because by that point we were a much more cosmopolitan nation and people didn't really feel like going out. But one of the things at the Centennial Expo, the Statue of Liberty's torch was there on display. And you would think like, oh, maybe there was a pavilion and it was lit up. No, it was just on a little pedestal on the side of like a walkway, like was the Statue of Liberty's torch. You could go and see at the Centennial Expo. And my last bit on the first celebration of a centennial in the country, in the basement of the Please Touch Museum, which is in Fairmount Park in Philadelphia, it is one of the 3 or 4 remaining structures, Centennial Hall, that remains from the Centennial Expo. Because as you know, back then they used to build these beautiful palladial, spacious, royal-looking buildings for these purpose-built things like they did for the 64 World's Fair, and then they would just rip them down a year or two later. And that's what they did here. So Centennial Hall survives, and in the ground floor, if you go without kids like I did, they put a wristband on you to make sure you don't leave with any kids. But went down to the bottom, and the model of the original Centennial Expo is there. So you can see that if you happen to be in Philadelphia and see what it was all about. But we're talking about America's bicentennial. And before we get to how Disney did it, Todd talked about this a little bit. Now I was only 2, but being a little bit of a history nerd, a lot of a history nerd, and just reading, watching, knowing what was done. 1976, America's national identity was the bicentennial. There were more state dinners held that year at the White House than in any other year. It was like every week some other country was coming and being honored to celebrate their 200 years of friendship with the United States. The big one being that July when the Queen Elizabeth II was here to celebrate with President Ford. President Ford came to Philadelphia by helicopter, first to Valley Forge, then to Philadelphia itself to visit Independence Hall on July 4th, 1976. The country everything was bicentennial. And Hal, you were around for it, but every community, including the little one I live in now, that had 2,700 residents back then, had a parade. There wasn't anywhere you went that wasn't hawking some kind of a collectible. It was in movies, it was in television, clothes. People were decked out in their red, white, and blue, not just bucket hats, but your shirts and your pants and your. There were galas. There were. It's hard to understand.
Parade after parade.
Parade after parade, events, reenactments. Half of the stuff I show people now when they visit Philadelphia was built as a replica for the 1976 bicentennial. So the City Tavern, which has been closed since COVID and lost its restaurateur, but was rebuilt. That was where the founding fathers, that was their favorite place to drink. So they rebuilt that, and that was an operating restaurant for almost 45 years. The president's house, which not the president's house, I'm sorry, the Declaration House. The Declaration House was rebuilt for the bicentennial in 1976. That scene in America, the American Adventure, where Ben Franklin walks up the steps into Thomas Jefferson's loft, that's the house where Thomas Jefferson was staying during the Continental Congress when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. So that's the house where that occurred. They rebuilt that in 1975, 76. It has been closed since 2017, and it's been on my to-do list to write to the director of parks and the White House and my senators and all, say, hey, can we get this open for the summer of 2026? Because it's been closed since 2017. They haven't let people inside of it. But there's all kinds of that's the year they dug up Betsy Ross from her original. They think they dug up Betsy Ross. They dug someone up from where they think Betsy Ross was buried and
We
moved
may
her
have
to
got her.
where
Maybe we didn't get her, but
and her house, well, they don't know that it was really her house. They know that it was one of the houses on the block. So that's become Betsy Ross's house. But you can go visit the Betsy Ross house. So all that stuff was happening. I mean, I'm talking about Philadelphia, but all over the country. The Liberty Bell that is in the Magic Kingdom now, and I don't remember which state, but each of the 50 states and maybe the territories too got a replica bell casts of the Liberty Bell that year in 1976. And somebody's, I should know this but I didn't remember I was going to mention it on the episode. Could be Florida's, but somebody's replica ended up in the Magic Kingdom. So that bell wasn't originally there when they opened Liberty Square in 1971. I think it was added in 87 for the celebration of the Constitution. But that Liberty Bell in Liberty Square was added then. It was not original to back then. But those were all cast in 1976, or for the bicentennial and distributed to the states. And we're going to talk about some other things that were distributed to the states that we'll have to try and track down more than what we found. But anyway, that was the scene in 1976. So in your popular media, in your communities, I mean, we were all about the bicentennial, and that was our national identity for that year. So when did Disney start working on making Walt Disney World and Disneyland the epicenter of the bicentennial? Well, actually started in 1973. They started working on their plans. And in February 1975, they went to Washington, D.C. Don Tatum, who was chairman of the board, went to Washington, D.C. with a group of folks from Walt Disney World and Disneyland to announce in our nation's capital that Disney World was going all in. They had traveled to D.C., where they announced our plans for the spectacular salute to America at ceremonies in the U.S. State Department, held in cooperation with the U.S. Travel Service and the American Revolution Bicentennial Administration, which I guess was the federal agency that was created to promote the bicentennial. I don't want to read the whole article. This is from Eyes and Ears, the employee newsletter. But it says that in order to accommodate the various scenes of Americana, an entirely new family of larger-than-life characters are being developed as the people of America, who you will all remember look strangely like the World Showcase citizens when Epcot opened. There'll be more than 150 of those people performing in the parades. And during the fun-filled procession, recognition will be given to the U.S. historical, cultural, and scientific achievements, from the discovery of America to the development of our nation, the invention of our first automobile to man's landing on the moon. Mickey, Goofy, and Donald, as the spirit of 76, will lead the parade, and we're going to come back to that. But I wanted to touch on this. Another major activity planned is an around-the-world tour by Walt Disney World Ambassador Susie O'Hara and Disneyland Ambassador Kathy Smith to invite world leaders to America's birthday celebration. After that, their two ambassadors would visit every state in the Union on our national tour to promote the bicentennial celebration. And we are going to talk about that as we go through all the many things that Walt Disney World did to celebrate the bicentennial. So, how'd they kick it off? Well, one of the things they mentioned to their employees in the next newsletter was that the bridge from Liberty Square into the Magic Kingdom hub had to be lowered in order to let the parade floats for America on Parade go over it. So we know that bridge was that we know the Adventureland bridge was done about 3 or 4 different times before it became totally flat like it is now. But they were both arched because the swan boats used to go under them. So the bridges on that side of the Magic Kingdom, and then over the years they've been lowered. Well, the first time it was lowered was to accommodate America on Parade, so that the parade floats would be able to get over the bridge hump. In March of 1975, so you're a full year plus 3 or 4 months from July of 76, their celebration officially began by adding President Gerald Ford to the Hall of Presidents. He had become president the previous August, then announcing that that attraction would become free beginning in June of 1975 as part of the bicentennial. An around the world Circle Vision film in Tomorrowland would be replaced with America the Beautiful. The movie was slated to be presented through September 1976. And while I didn't look it up, I kind of remember that movie ran for like 10 years, didn't it? I think America the Beautiful.
So Brian, actually, America the Beautiful ran from 1971 to 1974, and then it got updated and ran in 1975 through 1979. And Magic Carpet Around the World just ran for 2 years from 74 to 75, and then they put in the the updated version. They run around and shot some stuff to update America Beautiful for the bicentennial, and then that Magic Carpet Around the World then ran from 79 to 84, and then American Journeys, the first Circle Vision of the modern era, ran from 84 to 1994 before getting replaced by the Timekeeper.
Oh,
So,
all right. There we go.
there you go.
Yep.
So after visiting Washington in February and March, Disney decided to hold a preview for press in Florida. And the Orlando Sentinel, as always, can be relied on to write a nice article about it. So they talked about updating Walt Disney World, adding Gerald Ford, and the Monsanto Circle Vision Pavilion showing America the Beautiful. Both of those would be free. The 360-degree movie is an updated version with more emphasis on historic sites. Among the added segments are St. Louis's Gateway Arch, the Liberty Bell, and Williamsburg, Virginia. The switch to America the Beautiful took place in mid-March 1975, and it was slated to be presented through September 1976. And in a longer article on the same thing, they mentioned that a preview of Walt Disney World's Bicentennial Salute, the America on Parade, was presented Tuesday at the Contemporary Hotel for an audience of local Bicentennial Committee members, VIPs, and the media. The music and slide presentation, God, I wish we had a copy of that to convert, featuring live appearances by its 8-foot characters Disney has created especially for the Bicentennial Salute, was the same one Disney previewed February 18th at the State Department in Washington, D.C. And then they mention Walt Disney World June 7th and Disneyland June 14th, America on Parade. They ran the parade in both places, which if you listen to our America on Parade episode, you'll know all about. They estimated it would be seen by 25 million people during its 1,200 performances over a 15-month period. It ran longer, spoiler alert. And according to Disney Entertainment President Bob Yanni, Vice President, blah, 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 blah. Let me see here. The salute, there it is. According to Bob Yanni, who was VP for Entertainment, the project, the parade, was the first joint effort of both Disney parks. It was the first time they were trying to do the same thing on the two coasts. And during the summer and at holiday times, the celebration will step out at 3 and 9, so day and night parades. And Adding into the patriotic hoopla, expected to be seen by more people than ever have seen a live show before, will be nightly fireworks displays. Boy, we have some really interesting stuff on that.
And can I interrupt there, Brian? Have they ever done something before where they were doing the same thing on both coasts? Because, I mean, obviously, the Main Street Electrical Parade has been in both places. That doesn't count. Never ran at the same time. But can we think of anything else that was that, you know,
Well,
meshed with the other park like
I'm
that?
sure there's a lot of people screaming at their podcast app right now saying, hey, there's a lot of examples of attractions.
Oh, sure. No,
Um,
I'm thinking
but
like
in
event like
terms of,
this.
like live on stage shows, that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Um, and we would probably, we'll need Hal for that. Maybe the Golden Horseshoe and the Diamond Horseshoe Review, were they identical at both Disneyland and Disney World?
Yeah, I mean they were close.
So the premise
I
here
I
is,
would say there would not be any. I mean, outside of the bit of improvisation that was done, that they were
yeah,
the same show.
yeah. Bob Yanni is pointing out that the parades, it was the first time they were doing something identical on both coasts in both parks.
Mm,
And Todd has queried, is there another example of that since then where they've like, all right, we're just going to do this at both parks? And
sure.
like,
They.
go ahead.
I'm trying to think. Simultaneously. I mean, they ran the Main Street Electrical Parade at both parks.
They did, but they moved it. Like there was never two of them,
Oh no, there
right?
were
They
no,
would
there were
play it
two.
at Disneyland and then they
There were
would move it
no,
to
there were
Disney
two of
World, right?
them. No,
Were
there were
there?
two of them. Yeah, originally, yeah, because then they kept one of them one of them went to Euro Disney, and then the other one went to Tokyo Disney, and
Okay.
then they kept moving them around, and so
They're
yeah,
still moving them around.
yeah. That's that's a good question. Other things that were identical. I mean, some of the attractions. I mean, they weren't perfectly identical.
Yeah, we talked about the attractions, there's certainly examples of it where, they were concurrent projects. But that's an
Yeah,
interesting question in terms of like parade development, those things where was there ever a point where they were just doing the same thing for both coasts? And I'm not sure. So I've mentioned multiple times in these early PR efforts that Disney was sending its ambassadors from Disneyland and Disney World around the world and around the country to promote the bicentennial and telling these governors and these heads of state from other countries, hey, come to Florida, come to California and celebrate the bicentennial by going to Disneyland or Walt Disney World. So I got curious and I'm like, well, let me see if I can find an example of it. A single, a single newspaper article I could find from Vermont, April 24th, 1975. So it would have been within a few months of these early press conferences. Montpelier, which is the state capital, a ceramic statue of Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and Goofy, which plays Yankee Doodle, takes liberties with America's bicentennial celebration, but does not cheapen it, according to two representatives of Florida's Walt Disney World. The representatives Wednesday presented Governor Thomas P. Salmon with the statue in his office. That's great, the 42-year-old Democrat responded in boyhood fashion. They, along with two representatives from California's Disneyland, are touring the country to promote the giant entertainment company's bicentennial program. They are personally delivering the statues to chief executives in each of the 50 states. So this got me thinking, like, there's got to be other like articles, examples of like that hit the newspapers of governors in 49 other states getting a visit from Disney and being given this statue, and there is not. So either those have not made the newspaper archives yet online, or they just didn't get the press coverage that Disney had hoped. However, a few weeks ago, you'll recall in the chat, I found the statue, a photo of the statue in the Arizona State Archives. The statue lives on, and it is a unique version of the America on Parade logo that was slapped on everything, and we'll talk about that of these guys in this fife and drum setup that, according to the article, is based on a 1939 comic book. And on the inset, there is a plaque on the statue. Now, I am sure there are versions of this statue that exist without the plaque or that were for other purposes, but it looks like Disney had these ceramic plaques made, or these ceramic figures made specifically for these tours. But I'll read you what this one says. It says, presented to the Honorable Raul Castro, Governor of the People of the State of Arizona, in honor of the Disneyland Bicentennial Celebration America on Parade by Miss Kathy Smith, Disneyland Ambassador. So we'll include we'll include pictures of that in the show notes and the link maybe to the article. But I looked around. I did see one identical statue without a plaque that went for auction years back that played the music, but does not look like something that was generally for sale. So I'm assuming Disney probably had a few hundred of these made, distributed them, and then used others for VIP special purposes or whatever. But it does not appear to be in circulation. So if you find one of these that plays, what did it say? Yankee Doodle Dandy? I think it says. Yeah, Yankee Doodle. You know, hey, hit us up because we'll add it to the archives, especially if it's got a governor's name on it. But I do suspect that some of these governors probably took them with them when they left office and didn't leave them in the state archives. So that's the tour of statues. And that is something nobody else will ever tell you about but us. So Disney's ramping up. They're getting ready, spending their 2 years. A couple of the articles mentioned the fireworks spectacular that was coming. And a big feature of this was to have red, white, and blue fireworks to be at the center of it. So there is an entire article that was written about the fireworks for the bicentennial. This is April 1975, and you're going to love this. It's from the Harrisburg Patriot News here in Pennsylvania. And the headline is, Red China helps supplement light U.S. productions. I can see Hal laughing already. Yes, it's fantastic. Imports counted on for bicentennial fireworks. So I did highlight so I don't read the entire thing. But the United States celebrates its 200th birthday under the red, white, and blue glare of rockets from communist China. The British rockets are coming too, along with the French, Canadian, nationalist Chinese, and Japanese. All are competing to supply the U.S. with enough red, white, and blue fireworks to make July 4th, 1976, the most spectacular pyrotechnic show in history. The capacity of domestic fireworks companies is so low that their ability to supply the demand is beyond their capacity, said Patrick Moriarty, president of Pyrotechnica Inc. of Anaheim, the nation's largest fireworks supplier.
Well, tell you, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, but they had everybody come all over that. Right there. That's a salute to all nations, right?
It is a salute to all
mostly
nations,
America.
but mostly America.
I mean, we could to get all these suppliers out.
For the last 2 years, Moriarty, who supplies the fireworks for daily summer shows at Disneyland and Disney World, has been combing the world for red, white, and blue rockets. And China now is in line to be the second or third largest supplier for the bicentennial wingdings. I love creative writers.
The wingdings.
We're kind of in the unique position of celebrating our 200th anniversary, at least in part, with fireworks made in the world's biggest communistic community. Moriarty said, the reason is simple. China makes some fireworks better than anyone else at competitive prices, he noted. Moriarty said there has been no criticism of Chinese fireworks being used for the bicentennial celebration, although some individuals and small groups have refused to buy them for other occasions since trade began in 1972. Moriarty has made 5 trips to China since barriers against trade with Beijing were lowered 2.5 years ago in October. He and Bob Yanni, vice president for entertainment for Disneyland and Walt Disney World, went to China and invited the Chinese to send fireworks samples to be used for the bicentennial use. You're going to love this. On the night of March 11th, this would be 1975, a small group of men and women huddled against the cold and rain under a tin-roofed hut in a rocky field near Rialto, California. They were testing the Chinese fireworks as well as samples from Taiwan manufactured by a Japanese-owned firm. Ready Disneyland shell number one and hold, a man in the hat said into a walkie-talkie. Holding, came the reply. Fire shell one, firing shell one. With the whoop of a launched mortar shell, the Chinese
Do that
rocket
again. A what?
with the whoop.
Whoop.
Ooh, let me have some of that Cool Whip. What'd you say? You can't have a pie without Cool Whip. Cool Whip? Cool Whip, yeah. You mean Cool Whip? Yeah, Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. You're saying it weird. Why are you putting so much emphasis on the H? What are you talking about? I'm just saying it. Cool Whip. You put Cool Whip on pie. Pie tastes better with Cool Whip. Say whip. Whip. Now say Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. You're eating hair!
Of a launched mortar shell, the Chinese rocket flashed high into the sky. There was a huge bang that would have satisfied the most demanding fireworks buff, and the shell exploded with a burst of white that lighted the field. It was a direct hit for the Chinese. Yanni ordered all 300 available white chrysanthemum rockets for possible use in either the Disney Bicentennial productions or for the $1 million pyrotechnic spectacular tentatively planned for Washington on July 4th, 1976.
Wow.
He also ordered all the red chrysanthemum and blue chrysanthemum rockets that Moriarty had stocked in bunkers at the Rialto test and storage site. Besides the Disneyland and Walt Disney World nightly bicentennial shows, programs planned between now and the end of 1976 include major productions in Los Angeles, New York, Spokane, and nearly every other state and large city. So, Red China, Johnny Ray.
Walter Winchell, Joe Maggio.
Red China, Johnny Ray, South Pacific, Walter Winchell, Joe DiMaggio, Joe McCarthy.
Lighten up the sky. There's some insight into the fireworks you didn't know, but that brings to mind a film we have, Todd.
It does.
A film that you restored.
I did. So this was one of the, every now and then I don't remember where we got this, but weird films pop up, these random things. This was a press film, but it's not a press film you would normally give out. So maybe it was used internally, or maybe it was used in the entertainment industry. But as Bob Yanni talking on, he's out on the fireworks platform that used to be on one of the islands on the Seven Seas Lagoon. And he's being interviewed, and he's talking about the fireworks that they purchased and how it's going to, be related here to the bicentennial. It's a great 5-minute little film. We ran it once on one of our movie nights, and we have it up there on the web, so you can take a look at it. But we'll make sure to put that in the notes. Give it a watch. And at the end, it's got some actually pretty nice footage of some fireworks back then. So I think it was filmed before all this went down, and before they had the bicentennial. But great little clip, and you'll never see another copy of it anywhere. So.
Guaranteed. And Bob Yanni's sport coat and tie in it are
it's
worthy of bicentennial genuflection.
Bicentennialism.
Another article which repeats a lot of the same information, so I'm cutting short some of it, but I want to mention a few things in it, all about their PR ramp up to kicking off America on Parade and the bicentennial celebration in 1975. This was an interesting stat for me. So America on Parade will be seen, Disney estimates, by 25 million people during its 15-month run. And they have a June 75 to September 76 at both parks. That figure represents some 10% of the American population, more than we'll probably see any other single live bicentennial event. Disney sources claim their audience for America on Parade will be the biggest ever for any live show. What Disney researchers finally turned up for America on Parade music was, and I know we not only talked about this in the America on Parade episode, but Hal just talked about this on an episode we had, an 1890 band organ named Sadie Mae. She is the accompaniment for the whole show. The Disney folks found her in Missouri, but had to go all the way to Antwerp, Belgium to find someone who could score the piano roll type music needed. What audiences will hear during the parade itself was recorded in Nashville. In addition to the 3/4 mile long parade itself, both Disney parks will feature nightly fantasy in the sky fireworks in red, white, and blue, weekly salutes to all 50 U.S. states in the order of their admission to the Union, and an updated version of America the Beautiful. And I do. The next article mentions they are in Oregon, and this is Alice in Wonderland is there. The whole article is ridiculous because you can tell that whoever the reporter assigned to it is like, I don't want to write this.
Yeah.
So they interview Alice as Alice and Snow White as Snow White, and they're talking about Dopey and the White
like
Rabbit,
as
etc.
themselves. Okay.
Yeah, and but anyway, after the derisive article, it says during the celebration, each state will be honored for a full week with the state's flag prominently displayed at both the California and Florida parks. Oregon's week would be February 22nd to 28th, 1976. The traveling cast of characters was introduced to Portland, Oregon travel personnel and their children at an ice cream social hosted by Western Airlines. Western has a selection of tour packages to Disneyland during the bicentennial presentations, and then it really just turns into a travel ad because it mentions you can book a stop at Disneyland on your way to Hawaii to see America on Parade if you were fleeing Oregon. So I thought that was fun. There was a very small, just to give you a sense of, Disney every day for the parades. I mean, they still do it, don't they? They like pick a high school band and like throw them up in front of the parade before the parade comes out. Like
Yeah. There generally is one. Yeah.
So there was like just an article here, just the standard America on Parade, Mickey, Donald, and Goofy. But it is mentioning that the New Smyrna Beach Barracudas were selected to play at Disneyland or Disney World on June 6th. And I imagine every time a band was picked, they hope to get a local parade. You know why they pick high school bands? Because that means not only do the high schoolers come, but their parents come and their families come and book hotel rooms. And
You think it costs them money? No, they make money.
yeah, that's right. That's fantastic. So November of 75, that was an article I don't know how much we need to go over the refilming of America the Beautiful. There was a full article done on it here. This is May 30th of 75. Gives you a little more insight. It was sponsored by Monsanto. And, we had mentioned a couple of things they added because I think the other article said Liberty Bell and Williamsburg's Colonial Palace. But they also went to Gettysburg, the St. Louis Arch we mentioned. History Abounds, a 20-minute presentation, a New England fishing village, a South Carolina plantation, San Francisco's Lombard Street, careen through Los Angeles on a hook and ladder fire truck. Is that a quintessential Los Angeles experience, the fire truck?
Only if Kermit's on the back, right?
I don't know. Is that something that's like exclusive to them? But yeah, I mentioned Circle Vision, and yeah, I'd put that aside as a note just to special bicentennial activity at Walt Disney World. The newly edited film will help attract many foreign visitors to the United States, its producers believe. So, according to this article, Monsanto and Disney believe that America the Beautiful, the Circle Vision film, would be why foreigners would travel to the United States just to see that film at Walt Disney World.
That and to buy Roundup.
So, we talked a bit. As I said, the parade kind of weaves its way through here. We will get to it at the end, but I do want to talk a bit about the merchandise, and now's a good time to do it because the first merchandise ad I found was this rotating musical. Music. It's not a music box. What those things where you wind the bass up and it spins around as it plays the song. So it is what are we going to call them? The patriotic three, Mickey, Donald, and Goofy in their pose with the flag.
Yep.
And this is Disney Bicentennial Music Box. Hear the Battle Hymn of the Republic played by Mickey, Pluto, and Donald. So they've misidentified Goofy as Pluto in this ad.
Oh.
On fife and drum, give your child a touch of his national heritage. I guess you're not allowed to buy this for your daughter.
How much was
Red,
it?
white, and blue ceramic, $15, made by Schmid Brothers.
That's the equivalent of
Committed.
$84 nowadays.
Yeah, and I want to mention a bit about so the net. I'm going to skip the Christmas one here because I don't think there's much there. But so the next thing I have is a Disney Bicentennial plate. We're getting into the merchandise here. So this is Musket Mickey on a plate on a little stand, and this is from January 2nd, 1976. And it's a jeweler that you would have to go and buy it from. But can you see right there? Made in the Far East. So you know it's good.
How
It's
far
right
is
there in the
that?
ad. Made in the Far
Like
East.
Far out.
Yeah, look at that.
like Nantucket.
Gillespie's of jeweler of Northampton and Catasauqua. That's in Pennsylvania. So
Oh, I meant the far east of the United States. I
yeah,
guess.
but could have been
Trying
the
to think
Far
what
East
the
of
farthest
Pennsylvania
east
for all we
is.
know.
Jekyll Island. What
Yeah,
is the farthest eastern point? I think that's a
don't
good
know.
trivia question.
Of the United States?
Yeah.
I believe it's Presque Isle,
So
Maine, or
that's
it
Maine,
might a
yeah.
little further than that, but Presque Isle isn't always referred to as the furthest point east.
I
There we
got
go.
it.
But-
So
And I'm looking at it, and it's not that. It's definitely further east.
we're getting
Lubeck looks like.
all right.
I don't know.
We're
just
getting
on Google
into
Maps. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
some
Go.
of the merchandise, some of the swag. So for you folks up in Wisconsin, Boy Blue was an ice cream chain in Wisconsin that ran a March promotion where you could get a free America on Parade glass with each 89-cent Boy Blue parfait that you bought. For those of you who want to know, those parfaits were available in strawberry, pineapple, or chocolate. But look at this. So it was America on Parade free bicentennial glass if you bought your Boy Blue. Now, me being me, I said, what is Boy Blue? So it took a little bit of deep dive for me, but sure enough, Boy Blue, if you know Dairy Queen, which everyone in the country should know Dairy Queen.
I love Dairy Queen.
Some of you in the country know Carvel, which has been more of an East Coast thing. They are around the country now and rest stops and things like that because they're owned by some multinational firm. But Carvel was the originator of soft ice cream. They franchised around the country. They sold their machine parts and other things, their mix and everything, to the people in Wisconsin who ran Carvel stands. And then Tom Carvel and the guy that owned the what eventually became the Boy Blues had a falling out. So Tom Carvel stopped selling him parts to his ice cream machines. And so they rebranded as Boy Blue and changed the product a little bit. And they lasted, I believe I read the last one closed in 2003 or 2005, something like that. But so if you're up there in Wisconsin and you have memories of getting ice cream at Boy Blue, or if you have one of these Disney Bicentennial glasses with the Patriotic 3 on it, please send us a picture. Send us your memories of Boy Blue.
You think they filled that cup with soft serve and just handed it to you? You ate it
I
right?
don't know. Like it's like I said, the Boy Blue presence online is sparse. I mean, there were many locations like that,
Yeah.
but it just didn't have the same cachet, I guess, or staying power or something. But it does bring up the promotional items, and not only outside the parks. I mean, we should just talked about this souvenir glass and this plate that was sold and this porcelain music box and other things that you could buy at department stores and jewelry stores and things like that. But Disney themselves in the parks, I don't know that they ever went as hard. Maybe the Davy Crockett year, that brief period of time where Disneyland opened and Davy Crockett was like the biggest thing in the world for 9
they all had
months.
the
So they
coonskin caps and everything.
So they
yeah.
sold everything Davy Crockett
Yeah.
that they could. Like, they just slapped the Davy Crockett label on a musket and sold it in the parks and things like that. Well, this was like they went full bore. I mean, on promotional items, films, books, stickers, shirts, hats, cups, mugs, all kinds of dishes, plates, jewelry, towels, trinkets, trivets, anything you can possibly think of. Disney sold or licensed to be sold with the America on Parade bicentennial trio of Donald, Mickey, and Goofy.
So what you're saying, it's basically Spaceballs, right?
It is very much Spaceballs. It's also like today
Yeah.
when
Yeah,
something
everything.
hits, like you think about the Frozen phase and the
Oh
Stitch
my
fit, Lilo
gosh.
and Stitch, and like where it's just like all of a sudden it's on everything everywhere. I'm sure all of us, age-wise, we can't figure out the Monsters University thing, how Monsters University became like there's a certain age bracket
Mm.
that they just gobble up Monsters University merchandise and wear it in the parks. And
Oh, really?
yeah, there's a
Oh, you
whole,
never noticed that? It became
No.
like a sorority girl thing to have the dad
yeah,
baseball cap.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
yeah, it's a whole thing that I'm just too old. Like it, it reminds me of I don't know, it's a tweet or a meme. I think I've seen it on Instagram. It's a guy's like, I told my grandmother about my electric car or something. She's like, I don't need to know anything about anything like that. That's me. There are just certain things where there's like, no, no, just gonna skip over that.
Yeah.
You know, there is still, if you go on eBay and just search for America on Parade,
So much
there is
stuff.
so much stuff. You can
Yeah, yeah.
see all the trivets and brass plaques and coins and things that you're talking about. It's
I
crazy how
mean,
much is out there.
tea towels and um, just like the candy would be branded, but like
Yeah.
everything.
Machine guns and
Yeah.
and grenades,
The
There's a
flamethrower.
machine gun.
flamethrowers.
It's just, it's like you can't imagine it now. And when I tell you that, as we started off the show, the rest of the populace, everywhere else you went in America, everything was like
Oh my
bicentennial
gosh.
branded. Like,
There were Liberty Bells and Eagles like in every department store that had like a little.
I have it's going to eventually go to Goodwill. When my uncle passed away 20 plus years ago, one of the things that ended up with me was it's so funny. It is a set of pewter plates that it probably has, I don't know if it's 8 or 10 of them that have different scenes that depict American history, the Revolution. And the first year or two I got them, I bought little plate stands, and at work, uh, kind of from Memorial Day to Labor Day, I would do displays in our side lobby for the seasonal
Hmm.
displays, and I put them up because I'm like, what am I going to do with these things? They've now been in a box for more than 15 years. So I know where they are. We're moving out of our building to a smaller place at the end of the summer. So eventually, I mean, I think they're going to go to Goodwill. Like they're going to get donated to make somebody else happy because I don't know what to do with them. But he bought that during the bicentennial from I don't know, Sears or J.C. Penney, or like they mailed it to him. So it was like a catalog order. And it was just like I know it from looking at old pictures. I mean, Todd, you look at it, like people's houses were decorated with,
Hmm.
you know, Washington crossing the Delaware, things like just
That's my
anything you
grandparents'
could
house.
think of. Huh?
My grandparents' house was a very patriotic, like red, white, and blue couch.
Yeah.
And I
Mm.
mean, like, just full on. I remember like lots of things like that just around that were like, you're like, whoa, okay, this is serious America.
Mm.
And I'm also thinking of like wallpaper. I mean, you've been to people's houses where the wallpaper
Yeah, so you had
either
that too.
had like colonial eagles or some, scenes from, just some kind of red, white, and blue stripes or stars or like it was just enormous. I can't begin to emphasize for people who weren't there just how omnipresent it was. And then, of course, because these things were permanent decorations, they stayed for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, my grandparents' house was that way till we sold it in like 2020. And
Yeah.
then I mean over the fireplace, I remember forever, except at Christmas when they put a wreath, was a brass, eagle, like,
Yeah.
just right on the brick, right above the mantle.
Yeah.
Just serious.
So if you have photos or you know someone who still has their home decorated in these styles, please share them with us. Send them in. We want to know how you celebrated the bicentennial and never stopped. That's what we want to know. Like we want to know how you did that. Um, so Disney would seasonally make enhancements or additions to what they were doing for the bicentennial. There's a little article from 1976. If you remember, we'll get to it again, but the parade started running in the summer of 75. Um, for Easter in 1976, little article, the kind of things that they would run in the Florida papers a lot, saying like, here's what's coming up. Like they're extending their hours. They're staying up until 9 instead of closing at 7 and things like that. This year's Easter promenade is part of America on Parade. The Disney Bicentennial extravaganza performed each day in the Magic Kingdom and featuring colorful floats and giant marching figures in the costumes of many eras. The parade adds on an evening performance during the 2 week Easter vacation time, followed by aerial fireworks each night. Now, I'm glad they're aerial fireworks and that they were not firing Roman candles at the guests at ground level.
Ground level fireworks.
Which, by the way, Elvis and his buddies used to do that. They would buy Roman candles and run out on the grounds of Graceland and shoot them at each other for fun, because that's what you do when you're a man child.
Yeah.
And there's nobody to tell you, no, that's a bad idea. And that, I think, continued until one of them went through a window in Graceland and they decided, you know what? We might burn that place down, so that's not a good idea.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, just having a fun there. So, right around the Easter time that year, and this is funny because if you recall, I think in one of the articles I mentioned there was going to be a bicentennial special that they were going to run on TV. It said October or November of 75. In April of 76, it finally went to air. And it featured Red Skelton. And for most of you out there, there's people of a certain age who just know who Red Skelton is. For those of you who don't, he was most prominent in the 40s, 50s, 60s. Exactly the kind of person Disney would hire in 1976 to headline something, like somebody who was super famous 10 years earlier. Red Skelton was a Hollywood legend, universally beloved, kind of a clown, kind of, I think, in fact, they even introduced him in the special as America's Clown. The special was a contract production, so it was not produced by Disney. It was actually done by Red Skelton and his musical director and an outfit whose name escapes me for the moment that actually that's what they did. They produced specials and put them out. So this special aired on April 3rd, 1976, right around Easter time. The listing in TV said Disney's Bicentennial. Red Skelton joins the Walt Disney World characters for a visit to Disney World in Orlando, Florida, and to Disneyland in Anaheim, California. And it's literally just called Disney Bicentennial. Now, when it aired, it was called, I think it was called America on Parade. There is a poor cut up copy on YouTube at the moment, but we have a full copy that needs the retro WDW color lab treatment.
The retreatment of it, yes.
Yes. So that actually was uploaded tonight for you from the archive, Todd. So you can download it, and that'll be something else we roll out as we celebrate America's 250th by looking back at America's 200th. But let's talk about this TV special, if we may. I made some notes tonight as I watched it because I really had to decipher everything I was seeing. All of Red Skelton's bits. So, by the way, if you don't know who Red Skelton is, if you've ever seen Rudolph's Shiny New Year, where Father Time has lost the baby New Year and writes a letter to Santa, this is all real, writes a letter to Santa saying, hey, I need your help. I need to find baby New Year. And Santa goes to Rudolph and says, hey, man, fly over to Father Time and help him find baby New Year. And this was a 1979 Rankin Bass special. And if you've never watched it, you don't know what I'm talking about, but you should. And if you have watched it, the reason I'm telling you that is Father Time was one of Red Skelton's last roles, even though he lived until 1997. Father Time was one of his last roles on film in 1979 in Rudolph's Shiny New Year. So if you want to know who Red Skelton is. And there's a billion videos on YouTube of Red Skelton. Anyway, all of his bits were done in Disneyland. He filmed them in Disneyland. Some shots were taped without him in Walt Disney World and dropped into parts of the special. Because I was watching it, and sometimes I can't tell which park they're in depending on the angle that they're shooting. And I'm like, oh, did he shoot in both places? And then I realized they're in Liberty Square, and I'm like, oh, Red Skelton's not here. They're just filming a piece here. So anyway, it opens with a performance of Now Is the Time, which was new back then. Now is the time. Now that the Sherman Brothers wrote for General Electric for the Carousel of Progress. So it's opened by Now Is the Time and leads into a medley by the Kids of the Kingdom in Town Square. And then they have some classic Disney songs, Hi Ho, Hi Ho, I'm Late from Alice in Wonderland, and then Zippity Doo Dah, and wrap it up with Now Is the Time. There is a follow myself here on this bicentennial stuff because it's thin in parts. Red Skelton skit as he prepares himself in clown regalia in the train station. This is just Red Skelton doing one of his bits. A fife and drum corps marching through Liberty Square. This is one of the ones that the second taping unit shot in Florida and just dropped into the special. The son and daughter of Liberty ceremony that they used to do, where they would pick a boy and girl from the crowd and the fife and drum corps would present them with certificates and name them the sons and daughter of Liberty for the day. And then a Red Skelton routine trying to watch the parade. Lots of fat jokes in that one. So the joke is that Red Skelton's sitting there on the side, like waiting for the parade to come by, and a stout woman comes and stands next to him. And there's like 3 minutes of jokes before he finally tells her, hey, they're giving away free apple pie over there. And she runs away. So
I would have done the same.
So the Golden Horseshoe Review, there's a whole Hey Barkeep routine where Red Skelton goes on and the bartender is his straight man for what were clearly jokes straight from his show, whatever show he was doing at the time. A Rivers of America, Freedom is a State of Mind performance. I actually Shazam the song and I'm like, is this a real song? No, it was written for that. Then some kids do the Pledge of Allegiance by the flagpole in Disneyland and then walk over to Red Skelton and he redoes the Pledge of Allegiance by deciphering it. So he's a pledge. That means that you swear to, like allegiance. That means that you're loyal to he goes through the entire thing, giving his own heartwarming interpretation of the Pledge of Allegiance. And then we get into this. I honestly, I hope Grady out there, Disney Song Blog, you're listening because you need to find this. Hey, America, I love you because you're mine is the song. The Kids of the Kingdom start in Disneyland's Tomorrowland on the Carousel of Progress platform and then end up on Main Street. It sounds at times like a Coke commercial. And it has the most bizarre middle eights. That's a music term for those of you that I was watching it like this is almost like they took, where the Beatles would take like just snippets of songs and then or Billy Joel and scenes from an Italian restaurant, but it's not nearly that good. It's just like the weirdest middle eights that break the complete rhythm of the song. So it goes from like Coke commercial to we're trying to sound like a pop song here in the middle eight back to Coke commercial. And then somehow the finale of it is Now Is the Time. They go back to Now Is the Time. Then there is a short pantomime by Red Skelton of an old man watching a parade. And if you don't know what a pantomime is, he stands there by himself and mimes things like he's talking to someone on the side and oohing and ahhing at invisible things passing by. And then you get, of course, to Bob Yanni's fireworks that are aerial. They're not shot at you on the ground. And a goodbye from Red Skelton to America the Beautiful. The show was written by Red Skelton. The music was done by his musical director from his 1950s show, Jack Lloyd, who died a month after the show was broadcast. So that is the Disney Bicentennial Red Skelton special.
Of embarrassment? Do we know what he died of?
No, he was he was of age.
Okay.
Red Skelton was no spring chicken, as they would say.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah. So I think that it was an interesting special, but it could just as easily have been a Red Skelton special that happened to be at Disney instead of a bicentennial special. I mean, they tried weaving in their patriotic stuff, but it was just very, very, very interesting. So that's the bicentennial special. Would have been much better if it was Bob Hope. Um,
Or
you
Shields
know,
and Yarnell or any of the
Shields
other.
and Yarnell,
Odd,
or
they,
God
they
knows who else.
they seem to make a lot of odd choices with who they would have
I
do their
mean,
specials.
yeah, I think a lot of it, I don't want to say they were cheap, but I think it was like,
Mm,
who's well known that we can afford? Like,
right.
we can't get Frank Sinatra, we can't get, the Bee Gees, but who can we
Right.
afford to
We
do
can't get
this?
Desi Arnaz, but maybe
Right.
we can get
Get
Lucy
Lucy
Arnaz.
Arnaz. Outstanding comparisons. How outstanding. So the tour continued, by the way, that year into the bicentennial year. Here's one from them just in June of 1976, the Patriotic Trio in Nevada. And the caption is hundreds of youngsters got the thrill of their lives on Wednesday as Mickey, Goofy, and Donald Duck, along with other Disney characters, appeared at the Moana West Shopping Center. The cast is part of the America on Parade Bicentennial Troupe, which has been touring the country since last year as part of Disney's bicentennial celebration. So that they started in March. I mean, if you count Washington, February of 75. This is June of 76. They're still running around the country telling people, come to Disneyland, come to Walt Disney World. So I thought that was kind of interesting. They went all in. Um, the last thing I have is the parade. So before we get into the parade, is there anything I've missed, gentlemen, that I know well, actually it starts off the parade stuff. So the planning began in early 73. The Sherman brothers were contracted because they no longer worked directly for the studio to come back and write the Glorious Fourth, copies of which were handed out in a little booklet that comes up for sale from time to time on July 4th, 1976, at the Magic Kingdom and presumably at Disneyland too, for people to sing along with. Uh, it was like full. It was a nice, again, the patriotic trio artwork on the front, and then you opened it up, and it was the music, the sheet music with the words for the Glorious Fourth. As I guess they expected the crowd to be able to read the music and sing along to the tune.
Right.
Um, I will open this up by talking about Don Dorsey, and rather than me reinventing the wheel, this is straight from Don Dorsey's bio sheet from his website. Don Dorsey started a consulting relationship with Disney in 1975 when he was asked to create a unique new musical sound for the bicentennial pageant America on Parade. He did so by combining the sounds of synthesizers with those of antique carousel organs. That would be the Sadie Mae. The staging of this parade, the largest ever built by Disney at the time, also required some tricky audio playback coordination. Disney parks had 7 different audio zones, and each zone needed to be cued in advance so that a 7-minute pre show would conclude exactly as the floats arrived, and not a moment sooner. Don spent many months on rooftops with a stopwatch, studying float movement and giving cues via headset to an audio technician armed with the volume control knobs. As a result of Don's coordination and timing work, Disney was persuaded to begin development on a computer system to handle the float tracking and audio coordination tasks. The first Mickey track control system was completed and implemented in 1980 with software designed to Don's specifications. So we'll get to the floats in a second. I do want to mention the Sadie Mae. I know I mentioned it when we did the other episode that Hal talked about all the stuff they bought from the Gay 90s Museum. The Sadie Mae you can see if you visit Philadelphia because it is at the American Treasure Tour Museum in Oaks, which is about 25 minutes outside of Philadelphia. So you can still see the Sadie Mae in all its glory. And they play it on the tour. So anyway, can we talk about these floats? We'll just briefly touch on them since we did an entire episode on America on Parade, but we can't wrap up America on Parades and a celebration of the bicentennial without mentioning each of these floats. The opening float had the patriotic trio of Mickey, Donald, and Goofy. It was the Spirit of 76. Mickey, they were standing on a drum next to a heavily themed eagle float with Mickey holding a variant of the Stars and Stripes. As the three friends opened the parade, Donald played the flute and Goofy played a handmade drum. After that would come in Columbus's ship, discovering America for the Western nations. Italian explorer Christopher Columbus. The float resembled a pirate ship. The third float was the first Thanksgiving. I know that giant turkey lives on in everyone's memory
I
because we
think
see
wasn't the ship the
slides.
Mayflower? Not a pirate ship, but
I'm aware. I'm just telling you what the write-up says.
oh, okay. Oh, that's
That is
interesting.
not my
Okay.
interpretation.
Ah, okay,
This
okay,
is
okay.
I don't remember if I forget where I got this list of the floats because I wanted to make sure I had it right. But I
All
did
right.
not rewrite it. So
All right.
we're stealing this.
Gotcha.
The third float is the first Thanksgiving, and it had the giant turkey puppet whose head
Oh
went up and
man.
down. it's and that unit is shown after the Columbus ship and Ben Franklin for the month of November only.
Huh.
I don't know. I'm reading that. I have to assume it's correct, but I feel
That's
like we have a lot of photos of it if they only ran it in November.
it's interesting.
Yeah.
Especially because they said they only did the night parades at Easter, but they shot, both film and still photography of that night parade
Yeah.
to include in specials and in books and everything else.
So these notes also say the next float, which was the Salem witch trials, which is
Yeah.
always a great one with the lady in the boiling pot or whatever
Yeah.
it was. This unit is only shown after Columbus's ship and before Ben Franklin for the month of October.
Oh,
So
fascinating.
that would be interesting if that only ran during Halloween and if
Huh.
the Thanksgiving one only ran during Thanksgiving. I'm not sure that's correct. We'd have to look at more of our films. But I think I got this from Wikipedia and they've been known to be wrong. I just wanted a list of the floats in order.
Yeah, that could
Um,
explain some things though. That's a neat idea.
what I didn't have, because we've already done the America on Parade episode, is the booklet. You remember there was a souvenir booklet too.
Two of them. A
Two of
thinner
them,
one
yes.
and a thicker book too.
And two versions, Walt Disney World and Disneyland. They did the same thing with souvenir 8mm films, by the way. Todd and I were just talking about that before this episode. They put out souvenir films. They may have even put out day and night souvenir films. I'm not sure.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But they did specific versions for Disneyland and Walt Disney World. Like they sold the 8mm souvenir films in the parks. The next float was Ben Franklin flying a kite, discovering electricity. Then it gets very less descriptive. The dunking stall, which I always thought was interesting. Square dancing, because there was a period of time in America where square dancing was a defining thing for us.
They did, triangle dancing just wasn't as popular. They tried it for a little while.
People got dizzy.
Well, they really got to do with the circle dance, but
The giant bell, which I guess was the Liberty Bell, the giant cannons, and then Betsy Ross shows up sewing the flag. That is a float that sticks out, maybe just to me.
It's a good one.
But
Big rocking
yeah,
chair.
it's a good one. Then a rowing boat, then a riverboat, and a stagecoach. All of this, I guess, advances in transportation.
Right. The westward expansion.
Yes,
Yeah.
because we end up at the discovery of gold, the gold rush. And then voting rights was the 15th float in the parade. And then a Sunday band concert. I guess I never knew that's what that was supposed to be. Just thought it was a band. And then school days. I guess the classroom one. And that was cut in December and the summer months. I guess because school was out. Transportation. I know there was the advances in transportation one.
Right.
Sports, the Sunday picnic, modern tech, and the Sunday picnic had to be where the giant sandwich and the
Yeah.
mayonnaise and mustard Was there ketchup too? I don't remember. Yeah,
Mustard.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's where the giant food things came. Would have been the Sunday picnic, and then modern technology. And then it says, in honor of the 20th anniversary of Disneyland, a special unit was made. After the 20th ended, it was moved to the Magic Kingdom for its 5th anniversary. And that had Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, television, and the movie industry.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so they must have, I guess they shipped those across the country. Um, and then the circus and the hot air balloons, and it concluded with the Statue of Liberty and the Golden Eagle. So I encourage you, if those floats piqued your interest, to jump back and listen to our America on Parade episode where we had a lot more laughs at the expense of the floats.
And everybody loves that parade because it used those giant figures that were,
Called them the People of America was the
yeah,
actual title of them.
that later would sort of be reinvented at Epcot for the people of the world that
Yeah.
scares the bejesus out of everybody. So there's something to see. These like 7 and 8 foot tall people.
They did add Santa Claus and his silly reindeer and the dancing snowmen, Christmas trees, and the famous toy soldiers of Babes in Toyland to the America on Parade
Hmm.
during Christmas in 1975 and 1976. So they would pull those guys out and just drop them in the parade to make it Christmassy during the holiday season. But the Christmas season back then used to start on the 21st of December with the candlelight processional and last through New Year's, and that was it. Now it starts, I think, in August. So that was the celebration of the bicentennial in 1970s. I'm sure there are things that I didn't cover that you might remember or know about.
Oh,
If there
I
are,
just you just reminded me of something.
there we go.
Besides, the bunting and all the decorations that were up and down Main Street. Remember we in the pictures from that time period, there was a huge like topiary eagle out on the
Yes,
side of the
the where the Swan Boat
yeah,
Canal
where the
is,
swan boats went. Yep.
right in front of the castle, like off to the right by it's Swan Boat Landing now they would call it, but yeah, it's the isn't there a dragon there now? Isn't that what it is?
I don't know if there's
I
anything now
I
because it's just
I
flattened for places to
Yeah, they
watch
did do away
wishes.
with a lot of it,
Yeah.
but for the longest time, I think last time I looked there, it's still there. Like people don't, but there was they would make big. There was I think it was a dragon, right?
There was
Yeah,
a
it was a
dragon.
dragon topiary that was there for years and years and years. But yeah, they had that giant, just like JT was talking about, hanging over the fireplace, like that colonial eagle, and they had the bicentennial bunting and everything in flowers. It was yeah, that was another of the enhancements there. And I did mention the parade. It started in 75. That ran until 77 before they finally revamped it and changed to a more traditional parade. So that it was supposed to end like right after July 4th, 1976, and they ended up running it into the following year. Um, so, and then they went on. That wrapped up the bicentennial celebrations, but they, Michael Eisner loved a good patriotic celebration. So, 1985 during the President Reagan's second inauguration was too cold to hold the parade. So they brought all of the high schools and the parade participants from around the country on Memorial Day weekend to Epcot, and they did the parade on World Showcase, which is there's video of it out there from the Reagan Library. It's fascinating to watch it from those angles, to see like the Secret Service vehicles with like machine guns following the president as he drives around World Showcase before he gets on the platform in front of the American Adventure to watch the parade go by. A couple years later, they made a big push on the Star Spangled Summer for the anniversary, the 200th anniversary of the Constitution. So that was 1987, 88. One of my favorite things about that is it was a patriotic themed parade that they ran that year. And there was a lot of other, I mean, there was flags everywhere and all that. But one of my favorite things is one of the parade floats was the Declaration of Independence. I tweeted this out at Christmas time this year. Was the Declaration of Independence. And then during the Christmas parade, during the Christmas period, which back then was only like 2 or 3 weeks, they overlaid the like parchment paper where the Declaration of Independence was, or it might have been the Constitution. I think it was Declaration of Independence. And it's just over top of it, it says "Merry Christmas, America," and it's the same parchment. They just did an overlay of it that they would just lift off once Christmas was over, and it reverted back to the. And then of course they put some like, um, you know, boughs of holly and stuff around it to Christmas it up. But it's just so funny that they just took the float and like, we'll just Merry Christmas, America, written in parchment. Um, and I'm trying to think. There was some stuff after that, but that was the last big, I think, anniversary that they really marked um, in all in park themed fashion. And since then, there have been, pockets of things, little areas where there have been tributes paid. Of course, after 9/11, the fire stations at both parks became, they started hanging the stuff from all over the country, the patches, right? I think it's
Right.
patches that come from fire stations, first responders all over the country that get added in there. But yeah, they've not picked another big American celebration to make part of their park identity. So that is the bicentennial.
Well,
Slap the logo on everything.
That's right. And I have some good news if people are wanting to get more photos and more pictures. We have completed, as of tonight, an improvement to the photo archive at retrowdw.com using all sorts of newfangled technology and a big GPU sitting here at home. And we've, if you search bicentennial or a parade, you're going to get a whole host of photos. So if you're interested in researching photos on anything, head over to retrowdw.com, and when you go over there, there's a photo archive. So if you just click the search and say search galleries, you'll be able to see everything there in the photo archive and give it a good
And
run.
if you're going to send us an email about one of the photos or more than one of the photos to us, a question or something that's mislabeled, or
Yep.
please include a link to the photo. Because when you send it to us, there's
We don't know.
20,000 photos there.
Yes.
And you're like, hey, the photo of the sandwich in the American Parade is
Yes,
mislabeled as, 50s primetime sandwich. I'm like, which photo? There's.
Fortunately, now it also reports back the title and the gallery it's in. So if you give us the title name, that's perfect, and we'll be able to go track it down that way. So
Eventually, we'll even have less galleries.
we are going to have less galleries. I am working on something very flashy and special. Maybe we don't need all the flash, but I know we need to improve. So that search will be there always, but we're also working on an additional front end for the image search and categorization.
And we are working on a new and improved website. We had at least one guy reach out to us recently about it that we're going to be in touch with. So if that is something that you've reached out to us in the past or said, hey, I can help with that, and that's actually your business, like not just you like to use websites, certainly give us a shout. We may need some other input and some help. So,
all right, with that, How do you have anything to add into our any new T-shirts or anything like that?
Yeah,
coming
well,
up?
you know what? We'll get something patriotic going on in there.
Yeah.
So that way you got something to wear on the 4th of July.
yeah, you got
Exactly.
this again, America 250, the semi-quincentennial, 250 years old. We don't look a day over 249. So you're going to want some swag to wear around and, embrace it.
That's right. So, all right. Well, with that said, gentlemen, thank you for sitting in this evening. And Brian, thank you as always for putting these shows together and being our lead tonight. And if you have any fun memories or fun photos from the 76er, send it on over, and we'll take a look at it and we'd be curious to see what you did down Walt Disney World during the Bicentennial. So,
Or
with
anywhere.
that- or anywhere. Yeah, that's true.
You
Yeah.
did a little parade. There's a picture of you in a stroller at the town bicentennial parade. We want to see it.
Brian is
Reenactments.
actually printing them all out and putting them on his refrigerator. Well, you said it was all quincentennial is all you. So
Semi-quincentennial is my total identity for the year. Yes, I'm all about America 250.
So if that's the case, then we're going to make sure that you've got all the paraphernalia and ways to celebrate. So, but thank you very much, Brian, for putting that together. I appreciate it. All right.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. If you can, give us a shout out on iTunes or wherever your favorite podcasting app is. I have a hard time saying that every month, gentlemen, because I'm an Android guy. I don't know what my favorite podcasting app is. Probably Google or Spotify. So
whatever your favorite podcasting app is, give us a thumbs up.
That's right.
And leave a nice comment. I have learned from listening to not all these other, I only listen to a couple other things. But everybody's always just like the YouTube guys, like and subscribe or like my video, because that's how they make money and that's how their stuff gets seen. Apparently, we move up in the visibility on these podcast apps if you give us a thumbs up and say, hey, these guys don't suck. So that would be great.
That's right. Exactly. So, all right, gentlemen.
And we're going to deliver regular podcasts this year.
We're trying to get back into it. We appreciate we're all over the beating each other up after Retro Magic. So we're back into it. We got things going. We got films coming. We purchased some more. We got the scanning, all sorts of new stuff coming.
We've got a major film coming.
Major.
We're not going to tell you what it is, but we've got something
major.
We don't think anybody's seen since whatever
never.
it was made.
Yeah. So, yep, should be good. So we're looking forward to it. All right. Well, with that, thanks everybody. Thanks for listening, and I appreciate it. And we will talk to you next month.
Follow the Lake Buena Vista Historical Society on Twitter and Instagram at LBV History, and on the web at lbvhistory.org. For all things Retro Disney World, including exclusive merchandise, visit us on the web at retrowdw.com, and on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at RetroWDW. And follow our hosts, Todd McCartney, on Twitter at WDWMS, Hal Bowers on Twitter and Instagram at GoAwayGreen, JT Cougar on Twitter at LS1JT, and on YouTube at Rubber City Motoring, and on the web at rubbercitymotoring.com. And you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Brian P. Miles. Retro Disney World is the monthly podcast of the Lake Buena Vista Historical Society, a nonpartisan, nonprofit, tax-exempt 501c3 organization, and is not affiliated in any way with the Walt Disney Corporation or any of its subsidiary or affiliated entities.